Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Chris here. Chris, you're somebody that's been doing something pretty interesting in the interactive video space, and I think that you now see an opportunity where it's much more viable to make interactive video mainstream, and you're trying to create a way for brands to really take advantage of this through purchasing through interactive video, whether that's they can create interesting campaigns, but just making that technology viable has been something really interesting to see. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Yeah, no, Ben, it's great to be here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to kind of walking you through the story and where we came from, where we are today. But yeah, we're super excited about how the world of online video has evolved over the last couple of years specifically, and gotten us to a place now where brands of all different categories are now looking and understanding that they need a new form of engagement with their viewers through video.
Definitely. So, Chris, just from step one, like, where did your interest in entrepreneurship begin? Like, why did you decide I want to be an entrepreneur?
Oh man, that is a great one. So really, it started when I was a kid. So my dad's been a pretty successful entrepreneur his whole life. So just kind of being around that from as far back as I ever can remember, I think kind of looking back at it now makes me understand that just watching, my dad go through the process himself and just kind of seeing what he was able to do with just a couple simple ideas and what he was able to build it into. I think it was kind of naturally ingrained in me from the beginning. And then once I exited college, and then started, out into the real world, I was constantly just identifying problems and things that I felt like could be done better, and there could be a different process in place, and just ways to ultimately help everybody through, and just make it easier for everybody and create products and solutions and technologies that ultimately helped create more value for, in this case, the marketing and advertising world specifically. So I would say it was a combination of kind of being around it my entire life, but then once I got out there, just seeing there was a ton of opportunity to innovate, a ton of opportunity to just improve how things were ultimately happening, and kind of understanding both sides from kind of the brand agency side, and then also looking at everything through the lens of the consumer and just seeing, where the disconnect was that maybe the brands and agencies were not quite identifying soon enough.
Hmm. So how did the interest specifically come in for interactive video? Like, why did you start seeing an opportunity there?
Yeah, so that was really pretty simple. So this was back like 2000. God, it feels like forever ago, like 2011, 2012-ish. Video was just starting to kind of come online, and somewhat of a meaningful way, right? It's like nowhere what it is today in terms of consumption and dollars being spent. But there was enough video online to then get to a point where everybody was starting to turn online to watch videos, whether it was brand videos, it was short form content, whatever it was. Like the world of digital video was changing at that point. But the reason why we wanted to get involved in this was, for the most simple reason in the world, and that was there was just this constant frustration of watching mainly branded content or just other pieces of video that you'd see something you're interested in, whether it's like, oh, I really like that jacket or that shirt, or what is that restaurant or that beach or whatever it may be, and in quickly realizing that there was just no effective way to really figure out and shop or figure out and ultimately educate yourself on what it is that you were seeing. So kind of putting all the pieces together, it was clear that conditioning was happening with consumers through, with the iPhones and Droids and touchscreens and iPads, and all that was starting to really come on pretty aggressively. So the carriers were now covering, I think, the iPhone, and there was just more availability of them. And it was crazy to me that video was still completely static, and everything else in our lives was changing, right? Everything was becoming easier and more accessible, and you could search for anything and just get that instant information. But that experience in that layer just did not exist within video. So one day I was like, all right, well, there's no way that I'm the only one having this challenge and this frustration. Like, what can we do to create a solution that would ultimately tie content creators, and whether that's at the studio level or at the brand level or anybody in between, and then their viewer to not only drive some type of outcome and result, but also now connect them effectively through a very clean, user-friendly experience that allows them to get what they want out of it. Because even way back then, it was never a matter of if, right? It was always just a matter of when video was going to take that next large step to become engaging, interactive, and that would also, or ultimately, allow you to shop and have some type of commerce event directly through it. So it was all the way through just having that experience constantly of seeing things and trying to search for it, and just having that frustration really led us to the creation of Clicktivated back in 13.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get started financially? Like, what did it take to build the first version of it?
So it was really a couple things. I mean, we had good technical partners. We were able to go out and raise some initial seed funds. Mainly, your friends and family. Like every startup, you have to start somewhere, right? So we were able to go out and put some money together to start building our first MVP, and a small team around it. So that's ultimately how we got off the ground. And we're really fortunate that we were able to get off the ground, because things have changed quite a bit. And that initial launch was, as I mean, you talked to a lot of people, right? Like the first couple months, couple years are just an incredible grind when you're trying to build something that nobody has built. So you're starting from scratch. There's no foundation. You're trying to figure it all out on the go. And that's on the product side. And then on the market, you're trying to now educate an entire market of some new technology and functionality that exists that maybe they've thought about, but they've never really thought about implementing it into a strategy and really didn't know what to do with it. So it was a crazy experience, but one that I wouldn't trade for the world, because again, it's helped us establish us, at this stage.
Mm-hmm. So, you came up with the angle you wanted to have with interactive video. Why is it so important to enhance the experience through interactive video? Like, how much of a greater experience does interactive video really provide to the consumer?
Well, today, you're talking today specifically.
Yeah.
So today, I mean, it's becoming everything, right? Because it's more critical than ever that the brand is able to now have that direct connection with their consumer, their viewer, et cetera. Knowing that, consumer attention spans are really short. Searching for things is not something most people like to do. In a lot of cases, you don't even know where to start. So it's a deal breaker from the beginning. But it was just really important to connect both sides, but then do it in a really clean, user-friendly manner, right? Like everything we do is through the lens of the consumer, right? Because if we create something that has too many pop-ups, just kind of looks like a traditional ad, it just feels more forced. Yeah, we know that today's consumers just kind of recoil against that rather than really lean in and engage. So we wanted to create something that not only helped to keep the integrity of the video and of the creative, but then really give that viewer, that consumer on the other end, the ability to directly access whatever it is of interest as they were watching, which is why we have created the industry's cleanest user interface that allows you to get what you want. So by doing so, it creates this really cool tailored custom experience. So you're not having to sift through 50 different things that you're not interested in. You're able to say, oh, okay, I like this and that, bookmark it, and then ultimately take you out to those individual pages to buy and learn more.
So how do you think that storytelling is also changing? Because with interactive video, it presents a new type of opportunity to convey, a product for a brand. How do you think storytelling has been affected by this?
Well, I think storytelling as a whole has really changed the whole video landscape, right? I think storytelling is everything when it comes to content creation now. Like everybody's telling a story. It doesn't matter who you are, what you're selling, what you're trying to portray through a piece of content. Like you are telling some type of story. So I would say, storytelling is unbelievably vital. And we talk about that all the time, and how, we believe the future of video really revolves around, amazing storytelling, and this, pairing that up with technology as well, but ultimately is going to create, the next form of video, but then also is what's creating an ROI and value for for all parties involved. So we talk about storytelling all the time, and we are, from just how video has changed from a production standpoint, it's clear that, again, telling a story is what resonates. And then video too. I mean, this. I mean, everybody knows that, video is what resonates with today's consumers. Like, people don't like to read anymore. They want to be able to sit there, and whether it's 15 seconds or 2 minutes or 2 hours, like, video helps tell a story visually that you can never tell either through copy or through imagery. And that's why video has taken off like it has over the last couple of years, because it's just way more impactful, and it's clearly the most visual way to ultimately, tell that story.
Right. I definitely agree. I mean, video has become the predominant form of like communication now for any message. So interactive seems to be a logical next step there.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the younger generations too, I mean, they communicate almost exclusively through video. I mean, it's kind of wild how things have changed in 20 plus years since I was in high school, right? And now the younger generation, that's what they do. They don't really text that much. They're sending video messages. Everything is video based, and that's only going to continue to expand moving forward, which is, it's fascinating, but it's also really exciting at the same time, just to see how video is consistently being used across the board.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So, there's a lot more data that we have now, and I think through like interactive campaigns, there's probably a bunch of other interesting data that you've picked up. Like, how can you maybe even just share like some examples of how brands that you've worked with have benefited from that data, and maybe there's ways they've been able to target consumers that they haven't been previously?
Yeah, it's so data obviously is another key piece when it comes to video. There's a million different stats that are just pointing towards how impactful video is and how much video is used, et cetera, and we don't need to ramble off a bunch of statistics. But when it comes to data and video, our data, in our opinion, video has been lacking any real meaningful, powerful data for a long time, because I mean, we have these conversations with our partners every day, and it's the standard for video to measure success has been completion rates, because there has been no real other effective way to measure, if a video was successful, other than just seeing that it got to the end, because the assumption is there's been a human on the other side that has watched it all the way through. And even in social, I mean, we look at how they judge, to hear people, talk through, oh, well, this video got this many likes and this many shares, and that's how they judge success. But what's lacking there is there's a lot. There's that video. You're not really able to prove any real intent. You're not able to show any real interest and or drive to purchase individual products that were featured in that video. You're just taking a whole, wrapping it into, simply put, like completion rate, to say, oh, this video was successful, and tracking anything and really driving a real ROI off of video specifically, and having that attribution has been extremely difficult, if not impossible, up until now. So we look at the type of data that we're able to collect, and the unique nature of all of those in video interactions, broken down by product or broken down by item, location, etc., is really helping our partners now get a much more granular look at what their viewers are interested in. So it's no more just kind of throwing a bunch of stuff out there and just hoping and assuming that's what their consumers like. We're able to drive, or we're able to show them exactly what is of interest, where are they going, and be able to track all of that from view all the way through potential purchase on the other end, or some type of other result based on the type of content in the industry.
So beforehand, it was really, I mean, the way you would tell if someone could complete a purchase, it was like affiliate link, right? Or something that they have the video about something, there's an affiliate link there, or it's just direct. But but I guess you could try to figure out if it came from that video. So you're saying, like, with interactive, I mean, you really are clicking on the item itself right there. You're knowing it's direct.
Correct. And yeah, I mean, we're able to drive that, again, that direct connection with something that's being seen instantly in that video. So at that moment of like, ooh, what is that? I want that, just because, I mean, look, we're all consumers 24 hours of the day, right? Like we might not be in that mindset of like, I'm going shopping or I need to go buy X. But at any time, something could trigger that thought of like, oh, I like that. What is that? I want to buy that. And that's kind of the beauty of video is, you know, depending on the type of content, it's not necessarily there to sell you something, but if it's done properly and it catches your attention, that's why it's so valuable to be able to grab them at that moment, tell them exactly where it is, but then more importantly, direct them out to then make a purchase of that specific item through that piece of content. So it's a matter of just grabbing. You've got an engaged viewer or an engaged consumer because they're watching the video. Now it's just a matter of offering up that information and doing it on their terms again, without necessarily having to push it on them too aggressively, because consumer behaviors have changed quite a bit in the last handful of years, and we found that giving them the power really helps resonate in terms of results, conversions, engagement, etc., just because they're able to explore on their own. We never have wanted to be seen as, like when you walk into a furniture store, you get jumped by 40 people, right? If you have that type of experience within video, you still have that kind of natural reaction of like I'm being overly sold to here. Like it's not for me, but empower that consumer. And that's what ultimately drives real success.
So you've got a bunch of different, interesting brands that have used your technology. Can you just share, Chris, like how you started to procure these types of brands, like how you guys got Tommy Hilfiger, as a client, and what kind of benefit did they see from it? Like how did they really take advantage of your technology in the best way for them?
Yeah, I mean, we have been very fortunate to work with some really large, iconic global brands across category and across industry. And what we really point our successes to is just the fact that we're helping to solve a problem that they now understand and they have, right? And that's okay. Spending more and more money on video every year. How do we connect? It really, depending on who you talk to, like there can be a really big elaborate story around technology and really putting tech first, but technology is what ultimately drives it on the back end. But it's that human consumer connection on the other end, which is what drives the decisions in the minds of our partners, because they know, again, they need to do a better job connecting. So I would say it's really it's timing. It's creating a really simple to use product and service that doesn't necessarily add an incredible amount of time or work for all of our partners. It's very quick. It's very easy. It's clean. It protects the integrity of their brands. Like we don't have to worry about user experiences that are now getting in the way of whatever. Well, I guess easier without going down that rabbit hole is just, it protects the creative and the brand and it keeps it clean. So we're not having to fight that battle. So that a combination of an amazing team behind the scenes, just continually telling the story is really, it's almost been all organic, which has been kind of amazing. But when you're able to help somebody with the challenge that they have, or that you're able to kind of show them that they now have this challenge and it's coming down the road and their consumer is way ahead of what they're looking to do, that's what's really helped get us to where we are now.
Mm-hmm. That's good. It's a good way to look at it too, that you're just trying to help them. And as long as you've accomplished that, it's, that's good. Right.
It's in our DNA. I mean, we're all about helping our partners because again, we love video. And again, we're big believers, as I mentioned, in this convergence of technology and video is really what's going to create the next future of content. And yeah, I mean, that's what drives success. That's what drives results is really being there to help your partners solve a problem and just drive more results and just get more value out of the content that they're spending usually a good amount of money on. That's we've been there to help since the beginning and we always will be.
So how do you think like the advertising world's going to change now? I mean, especially with the advent of AI, it's becoming much more popular. Like, what are some changes that you think will occur, and how do you think interactive video is going to take advantage of this most?
So obviously AI has become mainstream over the last couple of years, which has been interesting because we've been using artificial intelligence in our technology for years, almost back to the beginning. AI has been around for a long time, but now the universe is aware of it and it's now used in all marketing, which is fascinating. But in seriousness, AI is going to continue to be critical. For not only technology companies like ours, but the future of content. It's going to help with personalization. It's going to help with speed. It's going to help with discovery. It's going to help with search. There's so much that it's going to help with from a marketing standpoint. And the more that we can lean into that to help, ultimately help our partners and more importantly the consumer, and create a better, more custom tailored experience. I think that's really where AI is going to shine in terms of customizing it for the consumer moving forward, and identifying new segments and just identifying new consumers that maybe you hadn't thought about, or other ways of finding them today just didn't exist. But AI is really kind of amazing when it comes to how it's impacting video and how it will continue to impact video and marketing as a whole. And let's have that conversation again in a couple of years, because there's so much going on that it's clearly going to be critical, but what specifically is going to be interesting to hear, and to kind of see and experience and live through over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time, especially for the space now. So many new ways people will adopt AI, and we'll see what comes of that. Just the last question that I have, Chris.
Yeah.
So, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals now, let's say over the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
Well, as an entrepreneur and as a founder, you're constantly, looking at what's next, right? And for us, it just continues to come down to, we want to continue to establish ourselves as, as a leader in the space. We want to consistently and constantly create new technologies to make interactive and shoppable video more accessible for all. And that means all content creators, all screens, all devices, just anywhere that you're consuming content. I think your screens at home and screens in the back of an Uber and anywhere else that you come across video. I think there's so many screens that exist in our lives every day, no matter where we go. I think that's kind of going to continually be the next frontier of content consumption outside of desktop, mobile, and then your displays at home. But yeah, our goals are just to continue to build amazing technology, amazing user experiences, and just continue to get out there and help the market solve a lot of these challenges that they have. So, 10 years from now, who knows? Video might just be a hologram. Not like a huge believer in some of that super, super futuristic stuff, but at some point, there's going to be a pretty massive jump in terms of kind of where we're consuming content to, and just making sure that, we're at the forefront of, the technologies that are driving a lot of these new experiences, data collection, and just being a part of this next big movement when it comes to the transformation of video. But, not to be cliche, but we always have that forward plan. And obviously we're building a lot of really amazing technology right now that will be rolling out both in like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. I can't get too much into, other than it's pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, just remain at the forefront and just be there to, help solve a lot of these challenges. And as video evolves, just making sure we evolve along with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Chris, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story, and I'm definitely excited to see how you'll continue to, remain competitive and evolve and build exciting new things in the space. I think what you've done with interactive video has really helped make it mainstream and more streamline the process of that, and that's why these brands have trusted you. So I'm sure what you'll continue to do will help bring something, other interesting technology to the forefront. So thanks for coming on, and wishing you much success.
Yeah, thanks for the time, Ben. I really appreciate it.